Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. So today I'm going to follow up on the series that I started talking about studying in Canada. Part 2 is on finances, so let's get into it. So this will be kind of a more laid back approach. I'm not rushing to go anywhere, and I just want to talk to you about the three main things that you should keep in mind when you're planning on coming to Canada for study. Now, there are three big things in finance. You have savings, scholarships, and sponsorships. So let me talk about savings first. Now, from my personal experience, when I planned on coming here, I decided to start saving a year and a half in advance. I would recommend that you do at least 2 years planning because of the amount of financial support that you will need, especially if you're doing it independently. Now, firstly, what you need to remember is that immigration officers look at the tuition cost and the approximate living expenses that you will have if you are in a particular city or province, right? So I know that technically speaking, Ontario is usually a little bit more expensive than, for example, Prince Edward Island. So those are things that you have to take into consideration when you're planning on making your move. So number one, look at the tuition cost, and number two, the living expenses that you will incur. Now, the immigration officer, I'm not one, just remember that. I'm not immigration consultant either, but just from my experience, the immigration officer will look at the cost of tuition in addition to living expenses. So let's say your tuition cost is about 30,000 Canadian dollars. To be on the safe side when applying for your student visa is to show that you can adequately pay that tuition cost for the year or for the 2-year program that you will do, in addition to your living expenses and any other unexpected expenses that you will have arise. So let's say the 30,000 is for tuition. You would need to have an additional 10 to 20,000, and even sometimes in some cases 30,000, just to make sure that you are okay in taking care of yourself and dealing with the unnecessary or emergency issues that may come up while you're living in Canada and studying. So the ballpark figure I would say, and please, this is give and take a few thousands of dollars depending on your pocket, should at least be 50,000 if your school fee is 30,000 Canadian dollars. Now, of course, you might say that's a bit much to find, and this is where the planning stage, as I spoke about in part 1, comes in. You have to make a budget. You have to think about the things that you're going to need before coming here, things that like winter wear, and winter wear here will cost you a pretty penny, so it's wise to shop before you get here if you can take those things with you, just to make your suitcase a little bit, it's gonna make your suitcase a little bit heavier, but in the long run it will work out, right? Because clothes is a little bit expensive here. Secondly, after budgeting and stuff, you have to, in the budget, before I go on, in the budget you have to look at how much the tuition is going to cost, your current living expenses, and the future living expenses. So that's a lot to take in when you're planning, but those are things that you have to keep in mind, because yes, you have to live during your saving and you have to plan ahead for the future of like a year or 2 year without actually working significantly or gaining significantly. All right, now the second thing that I want to talk to you about, and I'm sorry, I'm looking at my notes, but the second thing I want to talk to you about are scholarships. Now, scholarships are a very, very good way of getting your foot in to an institution and getting the funding that you need. So, for example, in most schools, they will offer scholarships depending on the program that you're in or the faculty that you're in. A good way to look to make sure that your institution offers the scholarships is to check on their website, look at fundings and scholarships or financing, and they will give you a list of the scholarships that are available or the awards that are available within a current program or for international students. Now, I do know that not a lot of universities offer funding for international students depending on the program that they're in, and so you have to research that wisely. However, for persons who are applying, let's say you're a native speaker of English and you did your degree in English and you're doing a master's program, it's good to try and see if you can apply to the domestic program so they don't place you in the international student program by default. But then if you're in the domestic program and you're doing a master's, technically you should get funding once you are accepted at that university. But of course, you have to definitely research, make sure that that is an offer of the university without you just assuming that you will get funding. Now, the last one that I want to talk about is the sponsorship. Now, a lot of persons that come to Canada may have relatives here already. They may have family back home that are financially able to sustain them while they take on their studies here. That's the next thing that you can look into. Now, a sponsorship can be from a friend or family, someone that will state that they are in charge of you, they're dealing with your financial costs while you're studying here. So that includes your tuition and living expenses. Now, the person has to write a letter stating that they are indeed in charge of your financial well-being while you're here and that they will support you at any cost. And then they have to support this letter with a bank statement. Now, of course, it's a pretty penny to ask persons to sponsor your studies. So you have to be careful in looking at the person or persons who you're asking to do so and making sure that they understand the weight of what they're signing up for. A lot of persons don't necessarily want to spend that much money, but if it's a family member and they're invested in your education, then it shouldn't be a problem. But that is something that you have to, I think, approach delicately when you're dealing with like sponsorships and stuff. Another thing for sponsorships, the person that is doing it should be able to write the letter or to present an affidavit saying that they are responsible for you, because in the event that something happens, the immigration officer is going to refer back to the person that you stated will be in your corner for your financial support and stuff. So basically, those are three main things that you need to keep in mind when you're thinking about financing your education in Canada. Now, let's say you've looked at savings, scholarships, and sponsorships, but you don't really have the scholarship in place, that you don't think you can get a scholarship, or you won't find someone to sponsor your education, and you're mainly looking at saving and supporting yourself while you're here. Now, while that might be a stretch, the important thing first and foremost is that you need to prove, regardless of whichever option that you will choose, you have to prove to the immigration officer that you can afford to come here. So that means you have to supply a bank statement, of course. Now, let's say that you've provided the bank statement from whatever means, but realistically speaking, you're still gonna need money while you're here. What you can do is look into working while you're studying. Reason being, on your student visa, there will be a permission statement at the bottom of it that allows international students to work while they're going to school. Now, of course, the hours are significantly reduced. It's 10 hours on campus and 20 hours off campus. And so you have to look into that you won't earn a significant amount of money, but then you can still earn on campus 10 hours per week or off campus 20 hours per week. So a lot of international students, when they come, they will do waitering, they will look for work on campus, for example, being a research assistant or a teaching assistant or a marker grader, depending on what the school allows international students to do. Or it's kind of competitive getting into things like that, but it's not impossible. So things like that can help you stay afloat during that time after you've finished paying your school fee and your living expenses are coming up, and with phone bill and rent, that is there to think about, and like grocery shopping, because yeah, you know, you have to eat, right? So those are other things that you can look at when you're coming to make sure that you look for a job either on or off campus. Pay attention to the notation on your student visa, because I had an issue when I got here. On my student visa, it did not say that, and so I had to send in for an amendment, and that kind of delayed the process a little bit for me. So when you're coming, it's important that you look on your student visa to see if there's a specification or if there's permission allowing you to work while you're in school. Sponsorships. Be sure to check my blog. I will have a link down below in the comment section, well, in the description box, of, you know, the links to, for example, different scholarships that are available internationally, should you, in case you don't really want to study in Canada but you want to look elsewhere. There will be also links on the website, the immigration website, that you can go on and read through, and also pay attention to a university's website. When it comes on to the finances, they can give you a very detailed breakdown and probably financial assistance or budgeting assistance in how to like best work your finances out, so to speak. So a lot of schools will have, once again, they will have awards or scholarships available. Yes, it's competitive, especially on an international platform, but what you have to keep in mind is that if it's your goal and you definitely want to achieve it, you will look through either of these three options to see which one best suits you and which one you can take up, and then that will help you to move on from applying and getting tuition costs to actually starting to plan and kind of finesse your way around your finances and know, okay, I can afford this in the next 2 years, I can afford this in the next year, or I can afford this in the next 6 months, if it's that, you know, you were planning for a long time. So thank you guys. If you have any questions or comments in the on the video or anything, or if you want me to talk about something in particular, just leave a comment down below and I'll see to the comments, and I will make a video addressing those comments and concerns also. Look out for part 3. I think I'm going to talk about renting housing. In part 3, I'm going to talk about housing and how to get situated here, and I hope that you have a good day or night, whatever time you're watching it, and be sure to come back and check us out on this channel, The Simple Lives with SMP, and like, comment, share, and subscribe. Okay, have a good day, guys. Bye.